Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Courtney Grayton and I'm bringing another lock hair video to you today. As you can tell by the title of the video, it is going to be all about interlocking. I get this question so much, just like I get so many other questions, but interlocking is definitely one of the popular ones as people are looking for the correct method of maintaining their locks. And so this video is just going to give you the rundown on interlocking, things to do, things not to do, so stay tuned. So yeah, before we get into how to interlock and who should be doing it and when and all of that, I definitely just want to tell you all what it is. So interlocking can also be called latch hooking or root flipping. I personally have not heard anybody say that, but that's what Google said. So basically what interlocking is you pull the end of the lock back through the root of that same section and it creates a lock. If you look very closely at hair that has been interlocked, it looks like a cornrow or a plait. So literally you're doing a motion that plaits it from the root. I hope that makes sense. So it creates a lock and holds the hair in that position while the lock forms. So if you think about palm roll, you roll the hair, at the root, but say if you wash your hair, that palm roll can very easily unravel. Whereas interlocking, as soon as you lock the hair, it holds it so that your hair can go ahead and lock in that position. While it sounds like the best possible thing that you can ever do, you don't have to worry about unraveling. It holds the hair in place so that you can lock and all of that. That is great for some people, but there are pros and cons to it, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. The things that draw people to interlocking is really that it keeps your hair in place, and typically your maintenance lasts a lot longer with interlocking than with palm roll because you are braiding the hair from the root. It's very easy for your hair to stay tight and together. There's really no unraveling happening with interlocking. Also, whereas you'll have, like, say for instance with palm roll, you typically will have a lot of frizz. The interlocking minimizes that frizz because, especially the way that I do it, I like to wrap a lot of that frizz around the lock, and then once I interlock it, it pretty much keeps it all in place. And so what you'll notice with hair that's been interlocked, it typically has less frizz over time than hair that's strictly palm rolled. So a lot of people are drawn to interlocking for those reasons. However, we're going to go ahead and get into some things that might make you change your decision on getting interlocking if you're thinking about it. I do interlocking on some of my clients, especially people who have microlocs. I am not someone who doesn't like interlocking or who will tell you to never interlock your hair, but I am someone, as you all know, who's going to tell you the real about it so that you can make an informed decision. Because apparently, from what I've been hearing, there are a lot of stylists out here that's just going to do your hair and not give you too much information or education about why they're doing what they're doing or what they're doing and how it affects your hair in the moment and over time. But y'all know me, I might explain something and over explain it, but I just need y'all to know what's good because our hair is very fragile and it really needs to be cared for properly. And I want you, like I said, to be making a very informed decision, especially when it comes to interlocking, which I've already mentioned is very hard to undo. Palm roll, you can go ahead and unravel that, but interlocking, you're dealing with something a little more permanent. Because interlocking keeps your maintenance so tight, typically locks that are interlocked over a long period of time appear much slimmer because the interlocking is keeping it slim. So interlocking is the same method used for microlocs and sisterlocs, and those locks are very thin. They're typically thin, and people who have them and who get them want that look. But I do want to let you all know before you go ahead and interlock your locks that you want to be either medium or large size or whatever the case may be, interlocking definitely makes them thinner over time. I've had to interlock some of my clients' hair who at the base of their lock have a lot of loose hair just kind of sticking up around the lock. It doesn't really know where to go. It's very hard to part. This typically happens when someone goes a very long time between their maintenance and they're not doing a really good job of keeping their hair tied down and moisturizing all of that. You'll see some breakage, you'll see hair just kind of separating from the lock. And so what interlocking does is kind of pull it all together to kind of give you a restart. So I have in the past interlocked someone's hair and then went right back into palm roll, which is another point that I wanted to make today, is that if you decide to do interlocking and you don't really want your locks to be very small, but you just want every once in a while a little, interlocking is a good thing to do a few times a year, just to kind of make sure that your hair is going all in the right place. And if you're having some of that like straying away at the root, the interlocking will kind of get it all together, and then you can go back to your palm roll to continue maintaining until the next time you get interlocking. I personally really recommend that. If you're drawn to interlocking based on the good things that it does do for people, consider going back and forth so that you do get the benefits of interlocking, but you don't end up with very slim and thin locks. So a lot of people who work out a lot of people who sweat in their hair, they tend to like interlocking as well. I even remember when I had my locks, I had got my locks started like at the end of summer, so I would do any type of activity and then my roots would look like I never got them palm rolled. So I actually ended up doing interlocking a couple times just to kind of keep my maintenance neater for longer, especially because I had smaller locks and I sweat a lot in my scalp. So I got interlocking. I will explain a little bit later why even if I got locks again, I will never get interlocking on my own hair personally. In a lot of cases, after I talk to people about the dangers of interlocking or just things to look out for, they end up choosing to just get their palm roll but get a style that will hold it together. So that's another alternative to getting interlocking. If you really want to get it in order to keep your maintenance for longer, just try getting a style which will help kind of mitigate that. I recommend going 6 to 8 weeks in between your maintenance for interlocking. Normally with my palm roll clients, they come in every 4 weeks, but by 4 weeks your interlocking will not have grown out to the point where you'll need it to get it done again. So most of the time they'll come back in between 6 to 8 weeks, and that gives your hair enough time to grow out and kind of expand a little bit at the root so that you can go in and tighten it back up with the interlocking. You don't want to get it done too often because it can be a little rough on your hair, and that can just cause unnecessary tension, and we know unnecessary tension leads to breaking. Speaking of tension, sometimes with interlocking it can be too rough on the scalp. Those of us with black afro textured hair, we grew up kind of believing that because our hair is kinky and coily, that it for whatever reason was stronger than other hair types, and that could not be further from the truth. It is actually much more fragile. You have all these other types of hair textures, but they're not covering their hair with satin, they're not covering their pillowcases with satin and doing all this extra moisturizing and hydrating and all of that throughout the week, because their hair just doesn't need as much as ours. It's not as fragile. We have to be more hypervigilant about keeping our hair moisturized and protected so that we don't end up with breakage and everything. Not to say that they don't experience that, but we have to be a lot more careful because our hair is very fragile. You can be the most softest, gentlest person while you're doing interlocking, but the simple act of interlocking your hair is tension, you know, and it can be tight. I stress a lot to my clients to let me know if anything's too tight so that I can loosen it up or whatever, but interlocking is just a rough technique in general. You have to kind of take inventory and be honest with yourself about your hair specifically. My hair is way too fragile, and I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I'm a hairstylist and I take care of other people's hair. I grow their hair, I moisturize it, keep it hydrated, tell them all the tips to do. But there are some days that I just go and I do not moisturize my hair and it might be dry. And so getting that interlocking just really did not do well for my hair. My hair started to break a lot at the root, and you can go back to my videos on my page to see my breakdown. I'm pretty sure interlocking had played a role in the breakage that I had. Those of us with type 4 hair really want to keep watch of your hair, take extra caution when doing interlocking, and for us specifically, I would definitely recommend doing that kind of flip-flop between palm roll and interlocking to prevent some of the breakage that you might have. With that, you need to choose a stylist who's going to be more concerned with the health of your hair than just doing their job and making it neat and getting you out of there. I say this very often, but it's very important that you are selective when choosing your loctician, because especially with interlocking, with it being a rough technique like I mentioned, you want to make sure that there's somebody who's going to be telling you like, okay, maybe next time let's not do interlocking, let's do palm roll this time, so that we can give your hair a break. You want somebody who's going to care that much to let you know, and not just keep interlocking your hair and then months down the line you have a huge problem. The very last thing that I'll mention, which I mention in all of my videos, so you all know this already, but keep your hair moisturized and hydrated if you do choose to do interlocking. Even if you don't, you better keep it moisturized and hydrated. But especially with interlocking, because you have so much tension, and you're also going longer between your appointments, keep your hair hydrated and moisturized with a water-based product followed up with a oil-based product that's going to seal all that moisture in, and you can have very healthy interlocked hair. I've seen it. It is not uncommon. I don't want to tell you that you can't interlock your hair, or that if you interlock it's automatically unhealthy, but there are some extra steps you're going to have to take. Just like with coloring your hair or doing whatever, you're giving yourself a little extra work to do, which is fine. You know, step your moisture routine up. You don't have to have a very drawn out routine. It just needs to have a water-based product first, and then you need to have your oil-based product to go ahead and seal all that in to keep it from breaking off and just walking out your life, because afro textured hair will do that. I'm sure everybody watching this video has had some point in their life where they've probably had some breakage or just a little thinning or weak hair, brittle, whatever the case may be. We all experience it. It's common, but there are ways to lessen the chance of that happening. So yeah, I hope this all made sense. I hope it wasn't too much, and I hope that it helps you in choosing what you're going to do as far as maintaining your hair. I hope that it's helped you make a better, more informed decision on interlocking your hair and choosing the right loctician who's going to do that for you. Even if you're doing it at home, make sure that you're following all these tips and being hyper vigilant to make sure that you are keeping your locks and your hair healthy. On this side of the YouTube, we're about healthy hair. We're about giving your hair exactly what it needs. I'm working on that myself. Look, I'm talking to y'all and I'm talking to me. Courtney, hydrate your hair. Courtney, moisturize your hair. Okay? The good thing is that I have short hair, so I kind of lax a little bit when I have shorter hair, but it's no excuse. I need to keep my hair hydrated and I need to keep my hair moisturized. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to talk your head off any more than that. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any other questions as far as interlocking, you can leave those down below. I'll be happy to help you. And go ahead and follow me over on Instagram as well. Just started posting a little bit on TikTok, so if you want to follow me there, I'd love to have you in my internet family. So yeah, I look forward to talking to you in my next video. You all have a good one. Peace. Got it done. I got it done. I got it done. Yeah, I got it done. Hey, I got it done. Oh, I didn't even know I was recording.